I don't care about Twitter. Twitter's bad news. They're all bad news.
Twitter permanently suspended U.S. President Donald Trump's account on Friday, citing the possibility he could incite more violence 2 days after his supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol. In a statement, Twitter said after close review of recent tweets from the real Donald Trump account and the context around them, specifically how they are being received and interpreted on and off Twitter, we have permanently suspended the account due to the risk of further incitement of violence. With the permanent suspension, Trump loses perhaps his most powerful megaphone with 88 million followers. Twitter had temporarily blocked Trump's account earlier this week following the violence at the Capitol on Wednesday and warned that additional violations by the president's accounts would result in a permanent suspension.
President Trump was allowed back on Twitter, and among his first tweets, the news that he will not be attending the inauguration of Joe Biden. The last time a president snubbed a successor swearing in was back in 1869. Sam Mercogliano reports Trump's announcement comes as some of his staunchest supporters have said they're done with him.
President Trump finds himself increasingly isolated and abandoned.
More than a dozen Trump officials have resigned.
And maybe the hardest blow of all, Hope Hicks, who is like a daughter to him.
Hope Hicks now considering resigning, that because of her unhappiness with the president's conduct this week, inciting that Capitol insurrection.
The Washington Post reports White House aides are privately calling Trump a total monster and Mad King George. Fox News' Geraldo Rivera, a buddy of the president's, is blasting Trump's half-hearted concession speech last night as too little, too late.
Now Congress has certified the results. A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th.
The UK has recorded the highest daily coronavirus death toll since the start of the pandemic. 1,325 more people have lost their lives. To add to that grim figure, a record number of new cases, more than 68,000 positive tests were recorded in the past 24 hours. Hospitals across the UK are now under severe pressure, with some treating many more patients than they did during the first peak in April. London and the southeast of England are currently being hit the hardest, with one senior NHS leader saying the situation is off the scale, calling it a winter crisis like no other he has ever seen.
Tonight, the Christmas surge is here as we witness the darkest days of the pandemic. For a second consecutive day, a record number of Americans have become infected and lost their lives to COVID. The single-day death toll soaring above the grim benchmark of 4,000.
The fact of the matter is that eventually this pandemic is going to affect each and every one of us, including your loved ones.
In California, where funeral homes are turning away grieving families, the state needs more mobile morgues. In November, 1 in 25 here tested positive for the virus. Today, that number is 1 in 5.
And now there is growing concern from the FDA that some tests used at sites like this one are reporting false negatives, perhaps leading to some unknowingly spreading the virus.
Calling the United States its biggest enemy, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has vowed to take an eye-for-an-eye approach in dealing with the U.S. According to the North's state-run Korean Central News Agency, Kim said the essence of Washington's North Korea policy wouldn't change regardless of who comes to power, an apparent message aimed at the incoming Joe Biden administration. Observers are interpreting it as an indirect warning against hostility towards the North and a request for the U.S. to withdraw anti-North Korea measures. Indicating that physical aggression is always an option when threatened, Kim rolled out goals to boost military strength, calling for improvements in missile strike capabilities targeting objects within a range of 15,000 kilometers, and hypersonic aircraft development. The leader also officially confirmed for the first time that a new nuclear submarine is in its final stages of examination.
South Africa seems to have a different problem altogether. Breweries in South Africa have taken the government to court. The Beer Association of South Africa has said that brewers are actually in danger of losing everything. This after the South African government banned the sale of liquor for the third time during this pandemic. The South African government feels convinced that liquor is playing a big role in the spread of COVID-19, and those against the ban contend that the move is only going to result in more joblessness amongst people in South Africa.
Meanwhile, Syrian television is accusing Israel of an airstrike on Wednesday that killed 4 people, a third strike in just 10 days, and no comment from Israeli officials. The alleged hit was against Iranian-backed militia bases in the country's south, but a Syrian military spokesman saying their air defense systems downed several of the projectiles mid-flight. The UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights reported that 3 people were killed and 11 wounded in that attack. Western intelligence sources say Israel's stepped-up strikes on Syria in the last few months are part of a shadow war approved by the United States, part of the Trump administration's anti-Iran policy. While these incidents have undermined Iran's forces in the last 2 years, they have done so without triggering any major increase in hostilities.
All right, so let's now get you the latest in terms of what's been happening on the Hindu temple attack that took place in Pakistan, where the main accused in the vandalization of the temple in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province has been apprehended by the police in Pakistan, where the police is acting pretty swiftly, it appears. Now, the main accused in this case has been identified as Fazullah, and he was arrested from the Karak district in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The accused has now been charged with instigating and facilitating the mob for launching an attack on the temple and also damaging the samadhi of a religious leader. The culprit is said to be a member of a radical Islamist party, and over 100 people, no less than 100 people, including 7 clerics, have been arrested for their alleged involvement in the incident. However, more than 350 people have also been named by the police in the report that they have registered after the temple was attacked in the Karak district.